I'm not from one Jerry Jones. He's staying with Mike McCarthy. Damian Woody's with us now here. And so, Damian, do you have an answer? Where do the Cowboys go from here?
Nowhere. They go nowhere. I mentioned on Get Up this morning, and I don't use this word lightly. Sure. The Cowboys are a soft team. Anyone who's been around, the National Football League or just like former players, that's almost like a sign of disrespect to call another man soft. Mm-hmm. But that's what the Dallas Cowboys are. They are, in sports, in the worst possible position because they're not tanking and they're not one of the elite teams. They're just in the middle ground. They're a more expensive team that's getting worse. And when you watch the Dallas Cowboys play, I tell people all the time, the game of football is very simple, okay? Either you're a physical, violent team or you're not. The Dallas Cowboys, every time you watch them, they are constantly getting pushed around. I don't care what pieces you have around you. I don't care about the quarterback, the wide receivers, all these positions that we talk about on this type of show all the time. If you can't move people against their will, you have no shot winning in the National Football League. Right. That's why when we previewed this game against the Detroit Lions, it was an easy one to preview. Mm-hmm. The Detroit Lions are one of the most physical football teams in the National Football League. I don't even have to get into Jared Goff, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, all these other guys. Because all I got to do is turn on the tape, look at what they're doing in the trenches, and that's going to tell me the whole story. Same thing with the Dallas Cowboys. Look at the tape, look at what they're doing in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and that will tell you the whole story about the Dallas Cowboys. We can get into Mike McCarthy, we can get into all these other coaches, but it doesn't matter if you're not physical and violent, because at the end of the day, it's about winning your one-on-one battles, and they just don't do it.
Shannon, not only were they not physical, this seems like a team that quit, basically, after the first quarter.
Woody, you hit the nail on the head. Football is about being violent at the line of scrimmage. Your offense and defensive line got to dominate. And whichever team dominate more times those battles, that's the team's going to win. Stephen A. Jerry Jones says he's not going to do hypotheticals. Well, the journalist didn't ask him hypothetical. He didn't say, if you keep losing, would you make an in-season change? He asked him a simple question. Are you considering an in-season change? That's not a hypothetical. That's a direct question. He didn't say if you lose X amount of games, if you keep playing like this. That's not what he asked. Back to the original scheduled programming. Because the Cowboys, Dio and Dame, can't run the football, because they can't stop the run, now you're at a decided disadvantage because teams play action. And now you get Laporta wide open. You get a Jameson Williams streaking down the field, basically wide open. That's what happens when you can run the football. It opens up your entire playbook. And when you can't, you ask Dak Prescott to drop back and throw the ball with no threat of the run. Try to throw the ball 35, 40, 50 times a game and win a ball game. It is hard to win in the National Football League. It's even harder when you become one-dimensional. The Cowboys are in a heap of trouble. I'm talking about a heap of trouble.
What's your definition of a heap of trouble? As far as I'm concerned, season's over. I mean, how much more trouble can you be? How much more trouble can you be in than that? I mean, it is what it is. So let's get that out the way first. Secondly, when we look at the Dallas Cowboys, okay, let's understand a couple of things here, because, leave it to me to encapsulate things and put it in its proper perspective. Yeah, line of scrimmage, they can't beat you at the line of scrimmage. They're a bit soft. I get all of that. We want to point to Jerry Jones and the decisions that he's made in terms of the roster that he's put forth. There's nobody more culpable than him. Fine. I got all of that, right? But allow me to dissect just a couple of things. We saw the Dallas Cowboys have talent in the past. Win 12 games in a regular season, back to back to back. Still wet the bed. We've seen that. We've seen them not pay Dak Prescott. Wet the bed. We've seen them pay him. Wet the bed. We see all of this, right? We've seen a situation right now. As you look at the Dallas Cowboys, I'm going to throw out the name Mike McCarthy, and here's why I'm going to attach a strong level of culpability to him, almost as much as Jerry. Wow. Okay? Almost as much as Jerry. Jerry tips the scales because you got to go out and get Derrick Henry. You got to go do that. He's right there. He lives in Dallas in the offseason. He trains in Dallas. It's only going to cost you $6 to $8 million. No state income tax. It was $8 million. But you know what? You could have got it for $6 million because no state income tax. I know a thing or two about no state income tax. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Right? So you could have done that. You didn't do that, right? So that's culpability on your part. But here's where we get to hold Mike McCarthy responsible. Y'all are throwing the football. You got a top 2 rated offense with Kellen Moore as your offensive coordinator. You sat up there and said, we don't like what he's doing.
Fair.
It's me that needs to be calling these plays. We need to change things up a little bit.
That's fair.
We need to incorporate a running game. Let me be that guy. So you lied. Remember when he joked at the press conference about lying to ingratiate himself with Jerry Jones to get the job?
He watched all the games. He watched all the tape for the last 2 years.
He watched all the tapes, went to different camps in the offseason, went around other coaches. Remember he said.
And so this is the next question. Does Mike McCarthy keep his job?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
Yes, he does. He keeps his job because Jerry Jones is going to be highly reluctant to make an in-season change. It's not something he's prone to do. I'm not saying he hasn't done it before, but you know what? More often than not, he holds on to the quarterback. So listen, Jason Garrett had a job for years. He had no business keeping his job as head coach of the Dallas Cowboys for as long as he did. But Jerry Jones kept him there. Even though you ultimately replaced Wade Phillips with him, remember, he was reluctant to make the change with Wade Phillips prior to that. Mike McCarthy, you know that a guy like Bill Belichick is out there. You know that a guy that's a 6-time champion as a head coach, a 2-time champion as a coordinator. He's out there. He's a leader of men. And most importantly, he don't want the camera shade like Jerry Jones does. Would have been the perfect compliment in terms of instilling a level of discipline and finding ways to work around what you're deficient in and what have you. But in the end, you didn't want to do that. So now you look at Mike McCarthy, you're making this gesture. This is the guy. This is the right man for the job. And clearly he's not. Now, I'm not going to blame Mike McCarthy but so much because they're bereft of talent. When you look at the plethora of injuries they've had, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Marshawn Lynch, Eric Kendricks, Deron Bland. You've had all of these people out. I get that. You knew that you were going to be deficient defensively, but offensively, you were going to need your quarterback. We're talking about Dak Prescott with the 7 turnovers over the last 6 games. Let's encapsulate this, all right? Dak Prescott was off his game from the start. He had an interception negated by a penalty, all right? The very next play, that could have been interception as well, but it fell incomplete, okay? Another time after that, you had the guy didn't turn around. Otherwise, it would have been a surefire interception. Dak Prescott, he was looking like trash from opening tip-off. Now, this is him bloviating going into the game talking about what we needed to do in front of our hometown fans and all of this other stuff. There is nothing that he has done. I understand that he was second in the league for MVP votes last year and all of this stuff. But when it really, really counts, he has disappointed you time and time and time again. And by the way, I showed you this stat, Shay, weeks ago, and I'll tell you this, Dio. You look at Dak Prescott. When his first 4 years in the league, he made $4.9 million. Okay, had a Pro Bowl appearance and also a playoff win and stuff like that. He's made over $157 million, not counting this latest contract, since that time. And the brother still, same results. Hasn't upgraded at all.
Hold on. Let me. I agree with that. But we cannot put this on McCarthy or Dak Prescott. I'm not saying Mike McCarthy's the best,
This is on Jerry Jones.
100%.
This is on Jerry Jones.
This is on Jerry Jones. And that's why last year, the Green Bay playoff loss, I said right after the game, morning after, start all over. And the reality is, Jerry Jones is scared to make difficult decisions. It would have been a difficult decision to take the step back and be like, we got to start over. It would have been the difficult decision to sit there and go, maybe I don't want to pay Dak Prescott. Maybe I don't want to pay CeeDee Lamb. Maybe I want to rebuild our football team. He's content with mediocrity. They've been content with mediocrity for years now. They want to pat themselves on the back, and Jerry wants to pat everybody on the back. 12 wins in a row, 12 years, 12 wins in a row, 12 wins in a row. But when it comes to you having to beat a really good football team, you can't. And then you decided to run it back this year with the Stephen A. We kept in this on Dak.
I'll let Shannon chime in here, but I think you're looking at it a little bit wrong. Here's what I mean by that. I don't think it's a fear on Jerry Jones' part to make these decisions. I think what happens is that as an owner who's so conspicuous in front of the cameras, in the locker room, around the players, he cultivates personal relationships.
To emotionally attach?
That's right. And,
Yes.
and can
Too
be
loyal.
and can be convinced, have faith. Next year's gonna be better.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come through for you, etc., etc. And he places that faith in it. What he needs to do is find a way. He's not gonna do it, but what he really, really needs to do is detach himself from those individuals to have an attitude. I don't like y'all because y'all are embarrassing
But
me.
don't you think that's my point? Don't you think he's scared to do that?
No, I'm saying I don't think it's fear. I think it's, first of all, when you're the billionaire, you're the one cutting the checks, fear ain't the thing that you need to be feeling, okay? I think what it is that they ingratiate themselves with him in such a way, he gravitates to them. One of the things that Jerry Jones told me, I interviewed him on my podcast weeks ago and all of that other stuff, but I've known him for years. One of the things that Jerry Jones has said to me is, he stays young by surrounding himself with young folks.
Okay.
You know, you get around these young folks, they keep you young, they keep you enthused, they instill a vibrancy for life, et cetera, et cetera. And so when you're gravitating to people like that and they're doing the same to you because you're the billionaire owner that's cutting those checks, right? You can convince them emotionally to flow with you, to flow in their direction. They've hoodwinked Jerry into believing in them entirely too damn much. And he's caught up emotionally where he needs to cut some of their asses. Get rid of them because they ain't getting it done for you. That's what he needs to be doing.
Shannon?
Well, Jerry says young people, surrounding yourself with young people keeps him young. Surrounding myself with young people keeps me broke. Stephen A., you know what I'm talking about. But that's neither here nor there. Hey, check this out.
Inside
Stephen A., Gio, let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
If you make an in-season move, who are you going to replace him with? Mike Zimmer defense is terrible. You're going to replace him with Mike Zimmer? Brian Schottenheimer, the guy that doesn't get any blame in this is Brian Schottenheimer. This is not his offense, and he doesn't call plays, and he hasn't been a head coach. I don't know if Jerry is comfortable enough with him or know him well enough to put him in that situation. But would it be beyond? Man, look at that schedule. Now, I don't know. They're on the bye week. They got the 49ers. They got the Commanders. They got the Eagles. They got the Texans. They got the 49ers. That's their next 5 games. That's their next 5.
Yeah.
And like 2 or 3 of those are on the road. Is it a possibility they go maybe 2-3 or they go 1-4? It is absolutely.
I think a 1-4
they might
is
even
possible.
go 0-5.
I think 1-4 is possible.
I feel like the Jets already ripped the Band-Aid off with dismantling the coaching staff. Does it have? I mean, Jacksonville might do it.